Hello, Janice.
Hello, Anthony.
Today we're going to do a quick review of inheritance checks versus wires. So, executors, should you be sending out funds by check or wire, whether it's expenses or the bigger ones, the inheritance checks to the heirs at the end? And as a professional executor, I will explain to you why we almost never send wires and only
Yep.
checks, as unintuitive as that may seem. Or inintuitive? Unintuitive.
Yes, one of them.
All right. So let's start with the pros of a successful check versus a successful wire. Yes, if everything goes well, wires are a no-brainer. Wires are faster, yes, even faster than an overnight, super fast FedEx delivery of a check.
hmm
And it's more convenient for the heirs or the recipients. They don't have to go to a bank to deposit it, even though I think these days people can.
You could do it on your phone. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah.
I don't think I've gone to a bank to deposit a check in a long time.
And most country, or is it most? Many other countries in the world, mostly in Europe, they don't even know what checks are anymore. They
Yeah.
almost wire almost everything. Actually, I haven't had anyone ask us to pay an inheritance by Venmo or PayPal yet, but I feel like that
Not
day is
yet.
coming. Yeah,
That's a good point. Yeah, we haven't had that.
but we won't do it. But I'm just saying the
No,
request might
no.
be coming one day. So, but again, everything I'm saying about the wires working and being faster and being more convenient, that's totally true if everything goes right. And
In
that's kind of
theory.
a big if.
Yes.
So let's cover the flip side of the coin. What happens when something goes wrong with a lost check or wire? That's really the big wrong.
Yeah.
That's the really big risk. All right. So if you have a lost or misplaced or whatever check, you stop payment. It's
Right.
not easy, actually. It's actually harder than you might think, especially for large sums like inheritance sums. But you can do it.
Yes, you can do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
You stop the payment on the check. You wait maybe a little bit of time to make sure that stopping, the bank might have a waiting period depending on the size of the check. And then you resend. You make another one. Wires don't have that. Janice, have you ever tried to reverse a wire?
So interesting. You should ask. At closing on the house, we had to wire from one closing because we closed on one house and purchased another house. We had to wire the funds from one closing to the other. There was one number off, just one. So it was gone. So it took about 4 days to come back to the table to finish it up because it was literally missing. It was gone. So it took a long time to find that again.
4 days sounds like an
4.
amazing result because we've had situations where it's taken months.
Oh yeah,
To
Yep.
track
we
down
were
funds.
lucky. Yep, we were really, really lucky.
And we've even had situations where the money has simply disappeared.
Yep,
It never
and
to
that's
be
what they
found again.
thought.
Yeah.
They thought it was completely gone, but thankfully it went to a what do you call it, like a dead account, so it wasn't real.
Yeah.
But if it was a real account, we would have never seen that. Yeah.
So we had a case where we had heirs in Africa, and they demanded wires. We don't even have the infrastructure to do a check. So okay,
Okay.
and I think it was a large six-figure amount that was going out. But we said, listen, let's test. Let's do a small test of a few
Good
$1,000s.
thinking. Yep.
And they very, very, very reluctantly agreed. But we did it, and that test went missing. Went through very reputable banks. I think it was Barclays and whatever. It was all everything looks normal. It's just the system is not as good as you think it is.
No. No.
After that happened, they stopped arguing with me about the
Yes.
strength of checks versus wires.
That was
Because imagine if the
a
whole
really
inheritance
good.
as we had sent and it had disappeared.
Yep.
That money is still gone, or it's sitting somewhere in Barclays.
Somewhere.
Yeah,
Yep.
I don't know.
And once it hits an account, I mean, getting it back is almost impossible. I mean, that's, and another thing I was thinking about with the checks and wires is the paper trail. For at the very end, we talked about this a few times where we start in a state knowing the end result of this paper trail, right? You need to have every penny accounted for. And sometimes it is actually most of the time it's easier with the checks, right? You have a piece of paper. You can copy this paper. Someone signs it, and even now, when you look at a bank receipt, you can see that the actual check that with it's signed. So you have a really solid paper trail for the end when you're doing, the accounting in the documents. Just another thing that wires, I don't know, it can get, I mean, you have a piece of paper, but there's sometimes not actual proof that it hit the account.
Yep.
unless the client says, yes, I received it. So
I realize it sounds archaic, especially with crypto. We talk about crypto
Yeah.
even, and there's other things. But when it comes to an executor specifically, there's no upside. Think about the risk reward scenario. Making it more convenient you don't get extra bonus points. You don't get a gold star for being an extra good executor for sending it out quicker. But
we
you will
don't?
be you could be personally be liable
right.
for a wire that goes missing, you know?
Right.
So it's just not worth it. Just
No.
make everyone wait a few extra days and make them go to the bank, because the downside is pretty bad with wires, unfortunately.
It is. Yep. Yeah, I think we even did this in a recent one. It was an heir to, I believe, Europe. And the only confirmation we had is when the heir said, yes, I received it. Because once it left the bank, our bank to their bank, or, the executive bank, that's it. It's just, you're assuming it's there. So definitely could be a problem.
Yep. So this is what we talk about as this is the experience you get with a professional executor who's been down this road many, many times. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I recommend Anthony's book, How to Hire an Executor. And with all the other podcasts that we do, if you have questions about this with professional executorship, this isn't your first rodeo, so leave them in the comments. Something we could talk about.
Very good. As always, thank you, Janice, for chatting about this. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we will talk soon next time. Bye now.
Talk soon.